I was so angry. I was because it's so beautiful, this music, and it deserves to be played in a good way. You could play da dee da dum, jum, and then.
King of Waltz, André Rieu joins us now, and it is lovely as always to have you here.
I think I'm so proud of it. When you go to a classical concert, you look at the program, who's coming, who's playing, which symphony. In my case, they don't know, and I don't tell them.
For years, what was seen was the bright smile of the maestro leading grand concerts with pure grace. But away from the music was a man struggling massively in silence. Whispers always have been about his health, but now there is talk of a diagnosis that could break his world forever. Tour dates have been scrapped, and his son broke silence on what is happening. What has happened to the King of Waltz? And is his son saying farewell to his father? Join us as we journey to uncover the details behind how his son is saying goodbye to him. Physical toll of relentless schedule. If there is anything André Rieu is known for, it's his commitment to his craft, which led him to perform in countless cities around the world and even under unfavorable conditions. In March 2024, there was a highly anticipated return of his to Mexico City after a 6-year hiatus. Having sold out 4 out of 6 concerts, Rieu was forced to cancel due to an acute flu attack. To get to Mexico, he had a 14-hour flight, and there was also a 7-hour time difference. Combined with the city's high altitude of over 2,200 meters, all these proved too much and taxing on the body of a 74-year-old maestro then. Then came his son, Pierre Rieu, who confirmed the severity of the situation, telling the public that the altitude gain, the jet lag, and the circulating virus were enough to put his father, a person who was already 74 years old, down. And he needed time to rest and to recover. This incident was well known. Additionally, in 2010, André was confirmed to have suffered from vestibular neuritis, a condition characterized by a viral infection that affects the inner ear. And yes, it is highly dangerous as it left him bedridden and unable to stand for a while. He described the experience as a rude awakening that led him to reevaluate his life, prioritizing his health more. Even with all these health scares and challenges, his passion for music kept him on the road. However, his strength continued to fail him as the physical demands of touring took their toll, leading to a reduction in the number of performances. Pierre acknowledged that they went from having around 140 concerts a year to 100, and there are plans to reduce it further to around 80. Still, the show continued until 2024, when his fans traveled across the world to see him on the Mexico stage. The first performances went smoothly, but suddenly, Rieu collapsed with chills and a high fever. It was not just exhaustion, as Pierre and the team rushed to make arrangements and flew him back to Maastricht. That decision affected not just the man, but more than 120 crew members had their income and schedules disrupted as well. Then again, the show was never insured. Fans who had waited years for a performance were left disappointed and heartbroken. Money for tickets and traveling went down the drain, and the concert was canceled. That cancellation was a rude reminder that even legends have limits. These moments are more common than one would think, as tight schedules, high altitude, and aging never seem to mix well to create favorable conditions. Even a regular performer with André, Donna Alberti, reportedly experienced fatigue and nosebleeds in Mexico. Another was Emma, a singer as well, who described going from the high of performing for thousands to the lows of canceling shows within a day. The emotional roller coaster affects everyone, sparing no one. His son had to admit something difficult, and that was that tours may no longer be possible, not just for his father, André, but for the team as a whole. Flights across the world and conversions in unfavorable conditions, such as heat or altitude, all become huge risks. There was a rumor that André told his wife backstage that he did not know if he could do all he had done again. And that is saying a lot for a man known to power through pressure and pain. His son expresses deep devotion to his father through these actions. But did André's father show the same support for his passions and dreams during his youth?
I try to take my responsibility and to make it beautiful now. There is a lot of shit, but let us try to be nicer to each other.
Weight of a father's silence. During interviews, André rarely talks about his father, and when he does, his voice noticeably changes. From him saying that his father never told him he loved him, nor did he ever tell him he was proud of him, the raw emotions from his voice could be heard as it was seen. That silence shaped him. His father, also named André Rieu, was a strict, distant, and demanding music educator and conductor. The young child grew up in Maastricht and found music to be both a burden and a gift. Offstage, he chased after approvals he never got, and on stage, he dazzled and felt free. Perhaps that may be the reason why he chased perfection throughout his life. Maybe the concerts are not just performances, but a message he was sending to a father who never listened. That pressure to not only carve your own path, but to live up to a legacy definitely takes its toll. Rieu transformed normal classical music into extravagant beauty, merging elegance and entertainment together. Even with that, success cannot erase old wounds. He undertook numerous tours, never rested, set high standards for himself, and maintained non-stop creativity. All these were not simply driven by professional ambition. They may as well have been his emotional armor. One lovely thing was that André made sure that the relationship with his sons was never like the one he had with his father. An example is Pierre, who not only manages logistics for his father, which includes handling crises that arise and shielding his father when needed, but now also speaks on his father's behalf. When André became too ill to address his fans himself, his son stepped up. It was evident that he was emotional, as his voice shook when explaining the reason for the show's cancellation. In that moment, it became clear that the father, who had never heard his father appreciate him, had a son who cared for him. André wanted to build something warm and long-lasting, and it reflected in his life and orchestra. The Johann Strauss Orchestra, to him, was more than a team of musicians. They were his chosen family. When a member died suddenly in 2016, André grieved and cancelled shows. Also, when another suffered from a heart attack before their concert in 2023, he was willing to help. To him, they are not just co-workers but companions he made along the way and have been with him on his journey. His emotional fragility often lies beneath his energetic performances, but the recent diagnosis has broken that strong mask of his. Now his focus is on stability as he will strive to continue performing, but he will do so in places closer to his home, mainly in Maastricht and the few countries near it. The days of tours to far places are over. Even media interviews are paused, and any unnecessary traveling has been scrapped. Maestro is changing its tempo. While the pandemic was going on in 2020, with all concepts shut down, André started baking. Simple recipes, late-night sessions, and flour-covered hands to replace his violin grip. The thing he began as a distraction became a therapy of some sort. He even went ahead to compete in the Heel Holland Bakt, which is the Dutch version of the Great British Bake Off. When asked if he would ever give up music for backing, he laughed and told them that it could never happen. Music, according to him, was his soul, but baking was a reminder that joy can take many forms and peace can be found in unexpected places. He still has dreams and continues to create, but for now, he's trying to find a new way of doing things, one concert and one breath at a time. With the way André's father was, what was his relationship with his sons? And did any of them follow his father's footsteps? A bond beyond the stage. André Rieu and his wife, Marjorie, have built a stable and family-oriented life for themselves. Then came their sons, Pierre and Marc. While André traveled around the world, he made sure to keep his family in his heart, becoming the central anchor of his life.
It's not just one orchestra, it's my orchestra, and I built it. It's my life work, you know, I built this orchestra.
Despite the constant traveling schedule and the fame he got, he made tons of effort to be a supportive father and husband, and definitely tried to be a present father. Of his two sons, Pierre is the more public figure and helped his father as the production manager. Of course, he is his voice of reason and assurance to the public during crisis times, and also his tour coordinator. André, no doubt, is the face of the empire, but Pierre is the engine. He handles the logistics as stated before, and oversees the traveling of a crew of over 100 people that goes with the orchestra, and also steps in when André's health falters. Pierre can be described as someone who is deeply loyal, pragmatic, and efficient. In interviews, he spoke protectively and plainly about his father, showing his admiration for the man who had demonstrated such resilience, and he also expressed his concern for his well-being. Their relationship shows mutual respect but also very clear roles. Pierre once said that he loved working with his father, and even when they had challenges, not from disagreement, but from how high the bar was set by his father, things still worked out. The trust and expectation André placed in his son's hands is massive, and he allows Pierre to take complete charge of decisions, no matter the effect it has on both the revenue and on his fans. His second son, André Rieu, on the other hand, prefers a much more private life. While Pierre is very involved in the daily operations of the orchestra, Marc sought a different path, one that's not performative art, but rather a visual one. Marc studied fine arts and art history. Now he works as a professional painter and an artist. His main focus is on atmospheric scenes and landscapes that make one feel introspection and deep emotions. His paintings have been exhibited in different places abroad and also in the Netherlands. While he is not riding on the coattails of his father's fame, there is no doubt that the creativity that is in Rieu's bloodline runs in him too. He loves to keep a low profile, unlike his brother and father, and rarely gives any interviews. Also, he had shown no interest in working in the music business. True that he stayed away from the spotlight, but Marc is said to have a very good and affectionate relationship with his father. He also deeply respects his dad. André, at any given chance, speaks proudly of his sons regardless of the paths they have chosen. Did his sons choose a private life intentionally, or were they simply following the path shaped by their upbringing? And what kind of upbringing did they have? Grounded in loyalty and privacy. Unlike many celebrities who push their children into the spotlight, use them to cultivate their public image, or exploit them for media appearances, André is not like that. He fiercely protected his private life from his performances and on-stage appearances. If they ever appear publicly, it's for a particular purpose. He may have traveled across different continents, performed in front of tens of thousands of people, and even received global acclaim, but the family remains the axis around which André built his world. Despite the stress that comes with having a personal life and balancing a touring empire, he made sure to be there for his family. His lack of a father's affection and love growing up made him vow never to relate those with his children, and he kept his promise. He does not measure his success as a father by whether his children followed his footsteps, but rather he measures it by the support they give, the emotional security they share, the closeness they maintain, and a quiet legacy. It's also perhaps the most meaningful one he could ever leave to them.
Of course, we worked together. I always had a dream when I was a small boy that I wanted to marry a girl with whom I would work together. And I think it's a perfect way of marriage.
In a world that is obsessed with spectacle and spotlight, Rieu's bond with his family stands out for its discretion, depth, and privacy. His family is his foundation, and he made sure that while he played music for millions, there was laughter, love, and loyalty in his home, which sustained him. His sons to him are not just part of his story, but part of his peace. Turning to the beautiful bond he shared with his wife, how did André meet Marjorie, and what led to their eventual marriage? Foundation of a lifelong partnership. During their student years in Brussels in 1975, André Rieu met his wife, Marjorie Kochman. They got married that same year and built their life together with all the professional and personal lines connected. Marjorie became the force behind her husband's career and was also the correct manager of the Johann Strauss Orchestra, arranger, and composer. Their marital life, which is now approaching 50 years, was built on stability, understanding of each other and their ambitions, and lastly, their shared value. André always publicly praised his wife for her role, not just as a partner, but also as a brilliant and creative collaborator. She remains a key part of his career background. Despite the stability of their marriage and their standing, in the periods of intense touring, anytime he made public appearances with women who were not his family or related to him in any way, rumors of infidelity came up, always without fail. He had addressed those rumors on different occasions and categorically denied ever being unfaithful to his wife. He had even expressed sadness and frustration over the persistent claim and stated that they were not only disrespecting his marriage but also his wife, who had stood with him throughout his career. Then, in the early 2000s, he spoke about how hurt Marjorie was by seeing false stories told about their relationships and health. Although she was never seen publicly, Marjorie's fingerprint is all over André's career. She also authored some books and helped with the branding tone, which was synonymous with the meaning of André's name, something that caused emotional resonance, elegance, and accessibility. Her literature background helped her build the concerts, particularly when performing for an international audience. She made sure the conversations were not just understandable, but moving too. She guided his scripts and song lists, ensuring they were tailored to match the cultural lines. She said once in a rare interview that she never wanted to become a celebrity wife. And she prefers to let André handle the public stage while she takes control of the background and the family. What challenges did André face before he was able to become what he is today? The climb. Before the spotlight. Before becoming the King of the Waltz, he was poor. He struggled not only with cultural constraints but also financially and with major uncertainty. Growing up in a musical, strict, and rigid household, André was born in 1949 in Maastricht, Netherlands. His father was a conductor who led the Limburg Symphony Orchestra, which gave André early exposure to music, and with that came great expectations with little to no emotional support. From a young age, he studied violin at the Conservatoire Royal in Liège and later in Maastricht. He then continued his education, in Brussels at the Music Academy, where he graduated with distinction. Even with his talent, he struggled with the narrow expectations of the classical world. He felt like the traditional classical concert format was too disconnected from an average person, too formal, and too elitist. He felt that music should be enjoyed by everyone, and his dream was to make classical music not only accessible and joyful, but also theatrical, which was often viewed by purists in the industry as unserious or too commercial. Then, during the 1980s, he played in the orchestra to earn a living. He started in the Salon Orchestra, which performed in smaller venues, community centers, and corporate events. The gigs paid moderately but required extensive travel even under exhausting conditions. His dream of having a sold-out show feels so far-fetched at that time. Then came 1987, when he founded his own orchestra, starting with just 12 members. The early years were very challenging. Financial resources were scarce, and he had to invest his own savings, even taking on debt to fund transportation, costumes, instruments, and rehearsal spaces. He had no name, nothing to himself, and convincing venues to book a waltz orchestra was a battle uphill on its own. He had a lot of criticism, accusing him of diluting and spoiling classical music, and his booking was also inconsistent. His breakthrough came so slowly. Then came a turning point when there was a release of a recording of the Second Waltz by Dmitri Shostakovich, which was a massive hit in the Netherlands in the early 1990s. This unexpected success helped him and changed his perspective on his musical approach, although even after the hit, he still faced a lot of resistance from the elites of classical music, as well as skepticism from promoters. Then, in the mid-1990s, with a lot of sweat, persistence, and a growing fan base, Rieu began to fill larger stages, reinvented his orchestra, and the scale increased. But so did his workload. It took him years before his operation became financially stable and his name was internationally recognized.
I attended to all the concerts of my father, and so I saw the whole classical music. I heard the whole classical music.
Will there be a time that André would announce his retirement? And what do you think his children may one day carry on his legacy? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.